Live from the broadcast studios of the Bay Observer, this is a Bay Observer podcast. And now, here is your host, the publisher of the Bay Observer, John Best.
Welcome to another edition of the Bay Observer podcast. Our guest today is Cyrus Tehrani, the Chief Digital Officer for the City of Hamilton. Cyrus is responsible for putting together Hamilton's bid to become the world's most intelligent city. Earlier this year, the City of Hamilton was named one of the top 7 intelligent communities in the world by the Intelligent Community Forum. This is Hamilton's second time achieving this milestone honor, having reached the top 7 in 2018. So Cyrus, welcome to the Bay Observer.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you having me participate.
So first of all, tell me about the Intelligent Community Forum. Who are they and what do they do?
So they're based out of New York, but they're basically a group that has fostered this methodology around how to drive cities and mature them along multiple domains. So they've been at this for many years. There's really you think Toronto, Montreal, Seoul, a few other larger cities that have gone through this process. And what this group did was start to look at, from what I understand, is look at what practices were happening across various cities, and then took those practices and distilled it down to a methodology that covers off 6 different domains, and then started to have this annual, competition really about cities being able to submit their applications and expand on their story and how they're achieving along these 6 domains, some of which include connectivity, engagement, work, sustainability, and a few others. And then it's free to participate in this process. And based on the initial applications, they name a top 21 every year. From the top 21 are invited to then submit a much more thorough application as part of their top 7 application, which Hamilton did, and we were lucky to be selected. So it's kind of that larger pool gets whittled down to the top 21. From that pool, it gets whittled down to the 7, and then there's a detailed judging visit. Usually the judging visits are in person, but this year due to COVID, they're happening virtually, and they're happening over the course of 2 days, where we have about 6 hours in total with the presenters, with the judges, and we have involved roughly 15 plus organizations, 30 presenters, and 6 hours of content that we're sharing with them, and some other additional information that we share. The judging committee takes that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are talking about IT. Like, what are is it about connectivity, or exactly what is the process by which we're being judged?
Okay, so like for example, there's various components. So one will be sort of the broadband connectivity of the community. So how many people in the community have access to, and what is done to facilitate connectivity. Then there's also the idea of engagement. So how does a municipality go around, both with its partners and as a city, engage with its businesses and residents? It could be around work, for example. So how do we develop the programs, whether it be at elementary, secondary, post-secondary, to drive the programs that are feeding then to the types of employment that is available in the city? There's partnerships, and how we as a city work with our partners to drive sort of a betterment for the city through those programs. And for example, one thing might be a program like City Lab program. So City Lab is a collaboration between Mohawk, McMaster, Redeemer, and the City of Hamilton, where it provides opportunities for both the city and our post-secondary institutions to come together and partner and deliver projects to tackle some of the issues or subjects that are of interest to the city. So it's all those various components. It's not strictly about technology per se. Connecting and broadband is one of those 6 domains, but it's more about that holistic picture of moving sort of from, hey, we're just using technology to meet a need, but now we're broader than that. We're involving various aspects of the community and our partnerships to achieve that betterment of the city.
Okay, now the judging, I understand that they're here virtually at least, they're not here in person, but so what kinds of things are they looking for?
Well, they'll look at special projects that we outlined within our application for us to be able to provide more information. So the application itself is sort of a fixed structure, and then the judging visit allows them to learn more about the top 7 cities as they visit them and hear more about them. So we'll be having people presenting from the various partner groups that I've mentioned to talk about the programs that they have in place, as well as how those support the 6 domains that the judges are looking at and evaluating us against the other top 7 communities.
Well, you've put the application together for Hamilton, and when you were submitting the application, can you list off some of you mentioned city labs, but can you just talk about some maybe of the other areas that you felt showed that we were meeting their criteria, I guess?
Yeah, sure. And just to clarify, it wasn't myself alone. It was a group effort putting it together. But we talked, for example, the city schools program at Mohawk, right, where they allow for people to participate and become involved in post-secondary education who might otherwise not have the opportunity if it didn't exist for the city schools program. We talked about Hamilton Community Foundation and what that entity does in terms of providing supports to our community. We talked about the Hamilton Public Library and its connectivity both for devices, but also programs they run, for example, like the Red Book program, which is index of social service programs that can be looked up, and even the things they do, for example, around running a Google course where you can get Google certified and it runs out of the library, their makerspace, the fact that they also support other programs for new immigrants. We talked about, the Research Institute, PHRI, and some of the research the research that's occurring at the Population Health Research Institute. We talked about McMaster Innovation Park and the fact that we have probably one of the largest innovation locations, both through things like McMaster Innovation Park, Innovation Factory, which is the Regional Innovation Center, our Center for Integrated Transportation and Mobility, the Forge, which is the Innovation and Entrepreneurship program that runs through McMaster. So that's just a short list of what went into this application for us to qualify and be shortlisted for that top 7.
So where do we go from here? We're in a virtual world because of the pandemic. When do we find out who the winner is?
So in October, usually it would be an in-person, but they're in Hudson, Ohio. There will be sort of the final ICF summit, and at that October event, they will announce the top intelligent community of 2020. And we're really hopeful that we'll have a shot at that top placing this year. And up till then, there'll be a series of virtual judging visits that they'll complete, but it will be secret until that event where we'll find out if we made it to the top position.
We've been talking with Cyrus Tehrani. He's the Chief Digital Officer for the City of Hamilton. And Cyrus, good luck with this. It sounds very exciting.
Thanks, John. And on my behalf, thanks to all our partners that have come together to help and really highlight the amazing things that are happening here in our community.